is
Oh,
part
you're
of the
in
Tree
Germany.
Care Foundation. Yes, exactly.
Okay, somehow I thought you were in Hawaii. So wrong part of the world.
Yes.
No, it's TUI, Peter. Hawaii is on the 7th of
Right.
April.
No, I don't. No, I thought he lived in Hawaii, Manuel.
No, I'm the only German living in Hawaii.
Ah.
No, I'm just
Manuel's
kidding.
not German. He's Portuguese.
He's Portuguese,
Well,
yes. I'm working for a German company. Okay, anyways, I think we can go in there. Just 1 second.
Perfect.
Trying to. Hi, Scott. Scott Wayne is joining us. He's a good man to be part of this discussion, I think.
Hey,
Good morning. How are you?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you fine. We're just about ready to go. I'm just trying to.
I'm in my car at the moment, but almost home. So.
Are you in Washington or?
I'm in Washington. I'm actually right in front of the Watergate building.
Oh, wonderful.
Hi, Scott. How are you? This is Peter Tarlow.
Hey, Peter. Good
We
to
haven't
hear
chatted
your
in a
voice
while.
again.
Pardon?
Good to hear your voice again. Been a while.
Yes. Be
I can
careful.
see you. There you are.
Yeah. I used to live not very far away, as you know.
Yeah.
On the George Washington campus, or more or less, on G Street.
I'm just a couple blocks from there, so.
I know.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I think we can start. Sorry for the delay. Just give me 45 seconds. I'm going to mute everybody. And then I guess we can start. Okay, so I'm going to enter. Thank you.
Right. So if I can.
Okay, yeah, give me just 1 second. I'm going to start. I'm just trying to get it. Aloha and good morning. My name is Jürgen Steinmetz, joining you from Livestream.travel and eTurboNews in Honolulu. And today's event is for the World Tourism Network. And as you all know, World Tourism Network was started a little bit more than a year ago on March 5th in Berlin, Germany, on the sideline of an ITB trade show that never happened. We started with the rebuilding.travel discussion. And in the meantime, our discussion grew to have tourism professionals and tourism leaders in 127 countries. And we've been meeting frequently, several times a week, with various events. And we have been very active over the last year. And in December, the rebuilding.travel formed the World Tourism Network. World Tourism Network has now close to about 1,800 some members, also in 127 countries, and we're here again. For those of you that are not a member of WTN yet, you can easily become a member. They're both complimentary and paid options. And once you're a member, you can actually become part of our interest groups. We have a number of interest groups ranging from aviation to tour guides, to sustainable tourism, to agriculture tourism, weddings, honeymoon market, and public sector and so forth. So you should look at it. If you go to WTN.travel, you find our interest groups, or maybe even you want to start your own interest group, or you can just simply join us. With me also today is our co-host and co-founder, one of our co-founders, for this Dr. Peter Tarlow. He's joining us from College Station in Texas. And then we have a guest today. You see him already, Manuel Ferreira. He's joining us from the city where we started in Berlin. And Manuel is with TUI. And I think a lot of you, especially I see a lot of participants here in Europe, know very well what TUI is. TUI is probably, if not one of the largest or the largest tour operator in the world. They're based in Hanover, Germany. And I'm actually a former colleague of yours. When I started in the business back in 1978 in Germany, I worked for TUI and I worked for Hapag-Lloyd, what was part at the time of the TUI network. So I worked for your company. It was actually, I think, the only company I really worked for. And then I started on my own businesses ever since the 1979. But I enjoyed that time. I worked on a cruise ship, what was it, TUI with TUI guests, and we sold land arrangements in Morocco. Great time, good memories. And welcome, Manuel. But before we start, I let Peter say a few words, and then Peter can give the floor to Manuel, and he can tell us why we're here today. Hi, Peter. Good morning. You need to unmute yourself.
Good morning to Hawaii. Good afternoon to the United States. Good evening to people in Europe. Good night to people further east. This should be a very interesting part of our series on really rebuilding travel and the whole issue of how important we are in redeveloping what was, and now unfortunately I have to say in the past tense, the world's largest industry. Hopefully we will regain our footing as in many parts of the world, COVID is starting to retreat. Unfortunately, I think in Europe, they're going through another phase, but certainly here in Texas, we have made tremendous progress, and our numbers are going down radically. They're dropping every day. There are less and less people who have it, and the people who do have it are mainly young people who have the equivalent of a cold. So almost our entire senior citizen population has been vaccinated. And that's good for travel. That's going to allow people to have the confidence, hopefully, to begin again. You may have noticed I put in the background, there's a Paschal lamb, kind of to celebrate. This is both Passover and Easter. So no matter what side of the religious divide you're on, that lamb is for you. And it also represents a sense of caring and love. And that's really what tourism is all about. So I had the privilege of speaking with Manuel a few moments ago. We both speak Portuguese, and I think Manuel is originally from Portugal. So I don't know which part of Portugal he's from, but I'm going to take a guess, maybe around Porto, something around that area. And I know Portugal extraordinarily well, and I'm going to turn the floor over to Manuel.
Thank you so much, Jürgen and Peter, for the introduction. And you are correct, Peter. I am from Porto, exactly. A very good guess. And we are here today, of course, to talk about Corona relief. So I'm Manuel Ferreira. I'm from Portugal, as Peter correctly guessed. And currently I am based in Berlin with the TUI Care Foundation. So this is the independent foundation of the TUI Group, which, as Jürgen pointed out, is exactly the world's largest tourism operator. And we work as the foundation that works independently, but was started from the group. And we're here today to talk about Corona relief and specifically our Corona relief program. I do have a little presentation for you just to guide a little bit my thoughts and to also really be as accurate as I can. So I hope everyone can see this. Perfect. About the COVID-19 relief program for tourism, I wanted to talk a little bit about the agenda that I had planned for us today. I would like to talk to you a little bit more about the TUI Care Foundation for those of you who are not really familiar with the work of TUI's foundation, and to talk about the partners that we have engaged with for this project. To talk to you about the COVID-19 relief program for tourism, which is why we're here today, and how the TUI Care Foundation and the German government is really financing a relief program for the recovery of the tourism destinations, and how the TUI Care Foundation and Impact, our partners, are helping with the implementation of the program. Then we're going to talk a little bit about what kind of participants we have, hear from the businesses themselves, and have a Q&A. So then I would also give you the floor to ask any questions you would have about the program. So a little bit about the TUI Care Foundation and our partners. The TUI Care Foundation builds on the potential of tourism as a force for good. So here we really want to engage the holiday makers and TUI customers, of course, to contribute to communities all over the world and give back to the travel destinations that have given our holiday makers so much. We work globally, but act locally. And we work mostly with partnerships with international organizations that have already social projects on the ground in these tourism destinations and that are creating long-lasting impact. So we channel, especially through the book flow, where holiday makers contribute when they're booking their holiday packages with us. They channel these funds to TUI Care Foundation, and then we can really support these organizations in implementing their projects. But as you can see, for our COVID-19 relief program, which is fully funded by the German government, not a single penny from TUI goes into this project. This is something that is different for the project in particular. And the TUI Care Foundation works independently from TUI and is based in the Netherlands, whereas TUI Group, as Jürgen pointed out, is based in Hanover, Germany. TÜKER Foundation's key fields of engagement are in education, in environmental protection, and economic development. So these are the three key areas that TÜKER Foundation usually operates in. However, in our vision, we are seeing that due to the current circumstances of the world, and here you have a bit, you can also check a list of our ongoing projects in our website, tukerfoundation.com. We are really present over 30 projects in 25 destinations worldwide. But beyond these fields of engagement, we are seeing that there truly is a need to be involved in corona relief activities due to the effect of the pandemic in our industry. And to help overcome these effects, we have launched a series of projects. And here it's interesting because it's not only just about the partnerships that we establish with organizations that are already running projects, but we are initiating our own projects. So this is a big, let's say, novelty for TÜKER Foundation. So still in this aspect of partnerships with local charitable organizations and NGOs, we have launched the 100 Helping Hands program. And also the Food Security Initiative in order to support food banks and tourism communities to cover the basic needs of populations in times of crisis. But then our own initiated projects. So within this Food Security Initiative, we have our own self-initiated project in Mexico called Community Changemakers. It is supporting schools, local communities with food relief, but also in the organization of workshops that provide professional skills for these people. For the COVID-19 relief program for tourism, this is a joint initiative, as we will find out later. And a little bit about our impact. Right now, we have contributed to 4,000 people who are given access to in-depth career training, and over 10,000 people received support to improve their incomes and entrepreneurial livelihoods. At the same time, with our nature conservation projects, we have contributed to the protection of over 2 million elephants and turtles. And also currently with our corona relief initiatives, over 50,000 people have indirectly benefited from them. So we are currently trying to maximize our impact, but really also really happy with the success that we had so far. For our COVID-19 relief program for tourism, which again, this is why we're here today, our key partners are the GIZ. The GIZ is a German developmental agency that basically implements projects that are commissioned by the German government. And that is what they're doing right now with our own project. Meanwhile, we have Impact, which is a nonprofit organization, which is based in Berlin and has the aim of empowering entrepreneurs and ecosystems. So they're really about entrepreneurship and supporting startup networks. So we really thought it was the perfect match between us as an organization that's trying to support the recovery of destinations and holiday destinations, and Impact trying to really contribute to startups and small companies. Our donor and our project donor for this project is the Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development. So this is a cabinet level ministry of the German government. And they are basically 100% funding this project, which is then implemented by the GIZ, by ourselves, and by our partners at Impact. And about the COVID-19 relief program for tourism. So in case you are not familiar with this program, it aims at supporting the recovery and growth of tourism and tourism-related businesses, specifically in 4 countries, which are Mexico, Kenya, Jordan, and Indonesia. This program is a part of the wider Empowering Entrepreneurship Initiative, which is an initiative that was launched by our partner organization, Impact. And this initiative has actually 2 programs. So one that is sector agnostic and is targeted at 180 companies from all different sectors of industry that have been affected by the corona. And then we have this one, which is the specific program for tourism, where we are involved and aiding in the implementation. And as I said before, these programs are fully funded by the GIZ through a commission from the BMZ. So really our donor is the German government. So what's in it for the participants? And I'm talking specifically about what this program entails. So the program has 3 key pillars. The first one is, of course, the funding, is the financial support that comes from the German government. And the other two pillars are related to a more knowledge transfer components. So we have expert workshops that are done by TUI Group colleagues. These are online web series on a series of management related topics to really support these small businesses in recovering from the pandemic. And the second one is a mentoring program where we have 97 TUI Group mentors that are acting as support to really tailor a feedback, growth models, and really assisting these businesses in scaling up their business models. We had our application period back in September. We had over 1,000 applications. And then we had the selection throughout November with the assistance of TUI Group. And finally, we initiated the program with some online kickoffs in December and had 6 months of our program. And the first program was more focused on these online trainings, as I said. And then the second phase, which started just this month, we really have the engagement of all our mentors and starting the mentorship component. In terms of our expert trainings, as I said, this was a series of management-related topics. We had resilience, communication and leadership, brand management, digital transformation, access to markets. So really all topics that are related not only with the future of tourism, such as sustainability, that was a big topic, but also about what is needed to recover and grow throughout the coronavirus pandemic. And these were done through a series of online web series with live Q&A sessions with the participants. And they were also encouraged to do mandatory personal assignments that they'd then have to report on. So we really thought that this was the way to maximize the educational experience and all this knowledge transfer that comes from TUI Group as a leading tourism business. Meanwhile, the mentoring program, which was kickstarted this month, is really composed of monthly sessions and weekly check-ins with the participants, personalized analysis, and then the mentors also connect with themselves to share resources and within, of course, what is not confidential for the TUI Group, share as many resources as they can with the participants of the program. And as I said, the TUI Group has really been an important force in the delivery of these knowledge transfer components, because although there is no involvement whatsoever from TUI Group for the financial side of the project, they are really being the heavy lifters of the knowledge transfer component, because they supported in the selection of the programs. They are the mentors for our program, and they also provided with all the online workshops that we are providing to our participants. And now on the side of the participants, so who are these businesses that are in these 4 countries? So we had, as I said, a lot of applications coming in. We had over 1,000 applications over these 4 countries. In the end, we could only interview 202 for what we wanted to be these 150 last spots for the tourism business that gets supported through the program. We have everything. And when I mean everything in the tourism industry, I mean tour operators, B2B service providers, even digital platforms, accommodation, which includes hotels and resorts, hostels, eco lodges, even glamping solutions in Mexico. We have hospitality, even a museum, travel agencies, tourism consumer goods producers. So they produce food or other consumer goods that are sold directly to tourists, but also tourism consulting companies and social enterprises. So we have here a well-rounded mix of companies because really the key goal of the German government is to support the infrastructural recovery of tourism destinations. And that is why it was also important to have such a variety of businesses in the mix of the beneficiaries. You have access to all the links, especially if you go to our website or the website of our partners Impact, of the kind of businesses that we have. Here are just a few examples. In Mexico, we have everything from a diving school that is committed to the conservation of the local shark population, to a culinary tour provider that shares and contributes to Mayan heritage in Yucatan. we really wanted to highlight businesses that have a high potential for community impact or environmental impact. So we really wanted to see not only small businesses, but businesses that really represented the future of travel, which is sustainable travel. And this was really an important aspect for us. In Kenya, we also have, for example, the Sustainable Travel and Tourism Agenda, which is an organization that consults other businesses into how to make their tourism solutions as sustainable as possible. Meanwhile, in Indonesia, we have the example of Mana Earthly Paradise, which is a resort that is trying to implement as many sustainable practices as they can. This includes having their own permaculture garden, for example, upcycling glass, and really minimizing plastic consumptions. It's fully solar powered, and they use sustainable materials for the creation of the hotel. And this is an upscale luxury hotel. So it's nice to see that, you don't have to be a small accommodation provider to really showcase these kind of sustainability trends and initiatives that you can implement all around accommodation providers. Finally, in Jordan, we have the example of Akabawi. This is a provider of cultural experiences. So they invite visitors to Aqaba, which is, as you almost know, really a cruise ship destination. Their offer in terms of tours and excursion providers is mostly sustained in the scuba diving offer, since they're Jordan's only major coastal town. So Aqabawi wanted to highlight the authenticity of their cultural heritage. So they invite tourists to do alternative activities, such as experience local culinary heritage through culinary classes, as well as doing their own handicrafts with local materials and trying to stay true to the authentic handicrafts and artisanal culture in the local environment. So as you saw, a lot of variety over this program and the kind of businesses that we are supporting through this knowledge transfer component, and also through the financial support given by the BMZ. We have a little participation video. I don't know if by sharing it like this, you will be able to hear it.
I don't think we can hear it. If you have a speaker, maybe you want to hold your microphone on it. Sometimes that might help.
Okay, I will try to do it like this.
We could make up a story as it goes along.
Yes, maybe that's going to be the creative solution to this technical program.
We can assign one person to each one of the participants and tell us what they think he's saying.
And do a role play. I think that's a great idea. So basically, here we have the sharing of Mauricio Moreno and his mother, Ana Lara. They are basically sharing about their guest house, which is a Grado guest house. It is a guest house in Oaxaca, Mexico. What they're sharing a little bit is let's say the customer journey of what is a participant of this program. So they're talking a little bit about their struggles in terms of the coronavirus pandemic, that the guest house basically had to stay closed throughout the whole pandemic. And even when it's opened, because of the restrictions that initially were felt in Mexico, and also their own concern for the safety of guests, they were really trying to minimize, and it was like drop by drop, getting one guest or two guests, but really it wasn't enough to sustain financially the guest house. So it's interesting because this guest house has a concept of being an art house as well. So besides being a typical boutique hotel, they invite artists from all around the world to have, let's say, a residency and to perform for the guests, and they have their room and board covered. So this is their innovative approach to having an art set up an arts community located at the guest house. So again, they're talking a little bit about their difficulties and what was their, let's say, customer journey throughout the program. That they were really interested in this digital transformation workshop, and that it really helped them a lot with figuring out new solutions for their website. So this was the kind of sharing that they were giving us. This was a video that was shown at ITB Berlin. I would say this was 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. We had a space that the GIZ was a bit sharing about their programs, and so we had these sharings from. Then we had Leo Swijaya. He is a founder and CEO of Gomodo Tech. So they are focused more on supporting big OTAs with digital solutions. They supply them with the inventory, basically. So again, really problematic for them for due to the corona pandemic. They really had a drop in sales, and they're talking about as well the impact that this program had in them, even topics that were maybe not as relevant for them as a digital platform. For example, sustainability. They really saw that even though it's maybe not targeted fully at them, they still have learnings from this kind of knowledge transfer that they can apply to their day-to-day business. So this was, of course, a bit of sharing from our participants. Again, hopefully you were able to have access to the ITV Now platform, because this was something that we shared back at ITV. And of course, I can share with you these specific sharings that were taken at the time, if you are interested in it. But of course, I leave the floor up to you. I'm really interested to know if you have any questions about our projects, about what we're doing in terms of corona relief.
There was a very interesting presentation, and I think this is a good move from TUI and the German government to help the world in these uncertain times. Probably the most pressing question is from many of us: is it too late to still work with TUI on this, or are there more opportunities, or what are the options for the industry?
Sorry, Jürgen, can you repeat the question? In which way do you mean that?
To be part. I mean, what can industry players? We have a very global audience of people from all sorts of from all different sectors of the industry. How can they be still a part of your program, or is it at this time a closed program?
So at this time, since we have closed applications and we are currently running the program, I think it's just important to really highlight this kind of program to see that the hardships that are being felt in the tourism industry are not only by the big players, but also about these small businesses. I mean, SMEs in tourism have really felt the let's say the bulk of the coronavirus pandemic. And I think we as players, what we can do is, do our best to try to, recover and try to resume travel as much as possible, following the safety measures, of course, for our travelers, but really trying to kickstart, because I think, the only way that we can ultimately support these companies, even through these kind of relief activities, which are, let's say, as a first aid response to the pandemic, the long-term recovery will only happen if we have travelers coming back to the destinations. So this is how I think we can all get involved. If you're talking about the program itself and direct involvement with the project, for me, it's more about, raising awareness that companies such as TUI are doing this, companies such as TUI are doing this, but also that, it's up to all of us as big players in the industry to have these kind of programs and support the travel destinations.
Yeah, and I think you can probably become a mentor for other organizations to follow your footsteps, not only in Germany and other countries, and see what they can do on their own. There are a number of people who are chatting, and since we're such a small group, I'm wondering if you wanted to say something directly. I know my friend Wolfgang Hoffmann in Düsseldorf, he's with Skoll. He had a comment and a question. Wolfgang, you want to ask it?
Sorry, I was just taking a bite. That's why I had switched off my camera, because it's dinner time in Germany. Yeah, it's very interesting because I did work 18 years for TUI. So I'm always keen to see what TUI is doing. And I saw this project in Oaxaca, and my wife's family, they live in Puebla. And very often they go to Oaxaca as well, because it's one of the tourist spots. So I sent a photo to them, and two of their nieces, the nieces of my wife, they are in ecological projects as well. So maybe they can contact this. They can stay there anyhow when they travel, and then they can talk about whatever is you can talk when you are in literally the same sort of business. So it's good to learn and good to pass the message.
Yeah, thank you, Wolfgang. There's is it Colin Bidewell had a comment and a question. Colin, you wanna go ahead?
Yeah, thank you. Hi, Emmanuel. Good to meet you. I'm a management consultant from the UK. Normally I think when governments sort of shove lots of sort of pots of money to people, they want to know what's in return for them, or society in return, and part of that is obviously around sort of sustainability. I was trying to map some of the content to the Sustainable Development Goals, and I was struggling a bit basically. So did you adopt the SDGs within your sort of program approach? Is that how you invite pitches? Because I don't think awareness of what sustainability is all about, if I can say it properly, it's late in the evening. And everyone's got common, different understanding of the common terms of reference. And I didn't see a common term of reference, i.e. the SDGs here. So I think for my benefit, maybe others on the call, it's just kind of useful to understand to what degree the SDGs were adopted in the program, given that it's what we hear is a publicly funded organization or initiative.
Right. That is a great question, actually, Colin. So unfortunately, I was not here for the initial conceptualization of the project, since I only started working with the project in September 2020. But I do have my colleague on the call, Jost Neumann. He is my boss. He is the head of economic development for Tucker Foundation. So it is under his umbrella of responsibilities, this project. Maybe he can answer to you about this question pertaining to the UN's SDGs.
Yeah, sure. Good evening, everyone. Really nice meeting you, and thanks for the kind introduction, Mani, and the great presentation. Really enjoyed that one. Sorry about that. So yeah, indeed, like it does, of course, happen in the framework and context of the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. Like the German government would not fund anything that isn't like happening in the context of the SDGs. There's no specific target when it comes to a particular SDG, but you could you see, first of all, we look at startups and young enterprises, small and maximum medium enterprises, which is from an economic development perspective, very important. We look at gender equality in terms of the participants. We look at life on land, for example, since we have a lot of rural enterprises in our portfolio, meaning we really try to focus and look at tourism businesses that do diversify from sun and beach and bring guests and holidaymakers to rural areas in these destinations. And so there is always, and that is obviously also like the general funding policy of the ministry, where they signed and adopted the SDGs as the German government, but also specifically as the Ministry for Economic Development and Cooperation. All and everything they do happens in the context of SDGs. We did not contextualize it specifically. We have our own ambitions and our own targets, but always respecting the SDGs, and would never kind of violate, the vision that the SDGs is putting forward for the sustainable development of the globe until 2030. So I do see that we are very much in line. Or every participant may have like a different, let's say, relationship to different SDGs and contribute more to specific SDGs than others. But we don't necessarily focus on just supporting participants that focus on life on land or peace and justice or gender equality or no poverty, for example. So in that sense, I would say we everything relates to SDGs, but we do not take it as our guiding framework. We focus more, the main focus is really on small and medium enterprises and young innovative enterprises in the tourism ecosystem of the destinations, because we want these, especially sustainable businesses, to remain alive during the crisis and to be able, once travel and tourism is picking up again, to be in a position of receiving guests. And the German government is very interested in keeping these ecosystems alive and keeping them alive also for the German and European travel industry specifically. So in their strategic interest is to maintain these jobs, to maintain these businesses, for the German traveler to be able to have a great options of experiences, for example, but also for long-standing partnerships with the European travel industry, for these partnerships to remain in place or at least do not vanish because of the crisis. I hope that answers that a little bit.
Okay, to a degree, yeah. As I say, I was trying to do the translational mapping, but you've answered, I guess, to a degree where you haven't actually put them in the presentation. So I appreciate that. Thank you. Thanks, Jürgen.
Thank you very much. I wanted to recognize also Professor, I call her Professor Snow White because she has such a complicated name for me. I guess as a German English speaker, you don't really understand Serbian names that much, but Professor Snow White has been a good friend. She has attended, I think, almost every event we had, and she heads our educational interest group, and she's based in Serbia. Professor Snow White, I'm just wondering, you're listening to what we hear about. How do you think the World Tourism Network could possibly learn from what the TUI Care Foundation is doing to benefit some of our member countries or member organizations? Do you think there's a synergy? Perhaps I'm just with what we're doing at the educational group.
I think that what Manuel said is very important, especially about education, as I'm dealing with education about the training. And I really wanted to ask Manuel what kind of a training in tourism they are doing in this program. What kind of education and training are you doing within these 4 countries you're talking about?
Right. So the training, unfortunately, this program is really 100% online right now because of the restrictions and the kind of global operability that we need. In terms of tourism specific topics, it's more like that the knowledge is fitted within the expert workshops, although the topics are very management level. So I think I gave a few examples: the resilience, leadership, and crisis communication, sustainability. So the examples that are given within the expert workshops are specifically about the tourism industry. We didn't want to get too far into it in terms of tourism specifying because of, as I said, the type of company that we have is really diverse, and it's really all the areas within tourism that are represented. So if we went too specific, it might become not as relevant for all the participants. So these are not really specifically tourism, they're more management level topics.
Yeah, maybe to add for a second on that, if possible. So we understand this as informal learning, because we have it peer-to-peer, right, through via the experts that do share a lot of the daily practice and the lessons that they have learned from the TUI perspective. So you have people from sustainability, you have people from digital transformation, you have people from a managerial communication leadership perspective that share their experience about the crisis and how to navigate the crisis during these times. but more on a senior level and giving these inputs to the participants from these 4 countries. And then on top of that, you would have the mentoring component that takes one-on-one mentoring, where we try to address the specific needs that the businesses share with us, where they tell, okay, we have problems with, for example, financial management, we have problems with communications, fundraising, you name it, there's lots of problems that they face. And then we would try to match them based on these needs with more than or almost 100 mentors that have volunteered from across the business to say, I'm happy to take this on because I know something about fundraising, because I know something about financial modeling, because I know something about communications. And then they eventually do that for 3 months to really start this peer-to-peer conversation, to try to build up their capacity to get some hope, get some support, get this international community going, in order to navigate the crisis a bit better. But this is by no means formal education that is, providing you with a certificate or is connected to a university, for example.
Yes,
Or hands-on education.
Yes.
Yes, I can understand that it is informal education because we are talking, Jürgen and myself and some other, and Peter also said about it, that the informal education is very important because formal education cannot very easy and very quick. It cannot make moves with the syllables like for the specific forms of tourism, because tourism, if we just we are not talking about last year and this year about the COVID period, but when tourism is growing, then it's growing with needs for educated people on different levels and in different areas. And because of that, I think that informal education is very important. Are you doing tailor-made programs, or the programs are the same for all 4 countries? Or you're making tailor-made program for one country, one type of a program for another country, another type of a program? Do you do like that?
In terms of the online workshops, they are general for all 4 countries, but then the mentorship component is really personalized because we have one mentor per business or one mentor for 2 businesses. So then we thought that the training is a more generalized approach of this informal learning, and then the mentorship would be this more targeted and individualized, tailor-made component of the program.
Yeah, and to add that the mentors for Mexico, for example, or the mentors for Indonesia, we require them to have a relationship to the destination, whether that is like that they have been working in the destination, that they're currently there, or that they have a specific interest and regional experience. So we try to match a participant from Mexico with a person that has knowledge about Mexico in order to create like this more tailor-made support service that is not so generic, but more going, addressing the needs, but also taking into account that the mentor needs to know about the culture, the ecosystem, and a little bit more information about this.
Yes, and sustainable development and all of that. And we think in WTN that it is very important that education, it is very important to stress the education in tourism this year and the next year, because we have to prepare ourselves and the economy and the tourism market. We have to prepare people for new booming of tourism, because I'm optimistic. It is going to be this year, next year, not very well, but nowadays here in Europe, for example, in Greece, there are first groups from Germany and from Holland who went to Greece as a tourist, and the Ministry of Tourism of Greece, he said that Greece will be open for tourists after the 15th of May. Of course, according to vaccinations, those people who have vaccinated, they can enter the country as a tourists. And then, of course, they have some new ideas about it. So we have to prepare people for new tourism, because in the last year, people were, unemployed and how can I say, very stressed because there was nothing working in tourism. So we have to make an optimistic approach to education and training. And this is very important. So I think that you're doing really great job, and you have to spread it all over the world, as WTN have been spread all over the world in this last year.
Yeah, and may I add to this? I just had a conversation earlier with Gloria Guevara. She is the CEO of the World Travel and Tourism Council based in London. And Gloria and the WTTC are planning still a physical conference in Cancun, what's their yearly summit, happening the end of this month in April. And I would stress Gloria, if she's watching, and anyone who is member of WTTC, what includes TUI, by the way, to include these type of initiatives in their discussion also in Cancun when they meet the end of April, either physically or virtually, because it is important. And I would have asked our friend Scott Wayne, who joined us earlier, but he told me he's in the car, so maybe he dropped off, but maybe Peter knows a little about it. Scott worked on a number of projects with USAID in the past, and I know some of the his projects were always travel and tourism related. So I was just wondering if USAID is supporting issues like this for the North American side. Peter, do you know a little bit more about it?
Scott would know much more than I would. So, if Scott's here, please jump in. But certainly USAID is trying to tailor its programs around the needs of specific countries and specific people within those countries. And tourism is clearly an important factor. It's not going to start tomorrow. I think we should be realistic about this, because there's been, first of all, COVID is going through many variations and strains. It does appear that at least the Pfizer and the Moderna are quite good at stopping those strains, but there's lots of other issues that are out there. The other thing is, of course, is a lot of people are recovering, not just in the tourism industry, but in industries across the world economically. And a lot of people have had to put a lot of money into their children's education because of many of the schools being closed down. And now the fact that schools may be running this summer. And that's something I think we have to take into consideration, because the world is not just about single people or about universities. It's a huge part of the travel market deals with elementary schools and high schools. And if those schools should decide to start in the summer to recoup the year lost, basically much of the world has lost a year of high school and elementary school education, that's going to impact the way people travel. So we have to be really smart. We cannot think just in one way or the other. We're going to have to, this is it's not a unifaceted methodology, but this is going to be a multivariate equation that's got to be thought through. And each one of those is going to have a different weight for different types of people. So one of the things we have to do is prepare people to be very flexible. And I really like what Professor Snow White said, and also my friend Manuel, the need for personalized education, because if it's standardized, one size fits all, it will not fit all. Now we all have certain basics we have to know, and I agree with you on that. But I really applaud your mentoring program, because that's when you have to take the general and make it to the specific, and because in the end, it only matters how it affects your business. So this is something I know it's much debated in the US government. How do we do this in a way to help the most amount of people with limited resources? And the other side, we have to think about, every government in the world today is pressed because they all lost huge amounts of taxes, because when people stopped buying and stopped earning, they had to give money out rather than receive money. And therefore, every penny is going to be watched very carefully, and it's going to turn into a major political issue. So tourism does not live on a bubble by itself. Tourism lives within the totality of the economic and social structures of each nation and of the world.
No, thank you, Peter. And I know Mario had a question, what maybe a little bit outside what we're discussing here, but it's not really the regular TUI we're talking about, but it's an interesting question. Mario, go ahead. Mario is actually our ETN correspondent for many years now, 20 years or more, and he's based in Rome, in Italy. Go ahead, Mario. You have to unmute yourself, otherwise we won't know what you're saying.
Okay. Can you
There
hear
we
me
go.
now?
Yes,
Right.
go ahead.
Yes, I would like to know, due to the ongoing pandemic, how is TUI facing the problem of travel so far? And what is foreseen for the near future? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mario. And I think you're probably hoping to get an answer from TUI, but I don't know if we have the right people on it, but at least we can have a personal opinion on this.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, there's some police work going on outside, so I'll just close the window for a second.
Okay.
So it's not about me, so that's a good part.
We're glad you're not arrested.
Yeah, so indeed, we cannot speak officially for the TUI group, since we are not the press officers of the company, and they may have specific messages that they would like to share with you. So I'd recommend for sure to look at the press section of TUI Group's website in terms of investigating that question, because I know there's lots of press releases being issued addressing the current needs. I know as well that, of course, TUI Group is currently in talks extensively with the German government in order to understand and get a lot of intelligence from the Federal Foreign Office to understand where is a safe travel path to be, or a safe travel corridor to be opened. So that's a lot like touching a little bit on what Peter just said, right? There is a whole lot of ever-changing conversations between these political stakeholders that are currently happening. A lot of things currently there is travel in place. For instance, we had a lot of Polish guests going to Mexico. They went to the Canaries, Spain. They went also to Greece, as far as I know. We have some Germans traveling to Spain at the moment, but it's all on a very small scale, and it can be disrupted at any point in time due to the change of the pandemic coverage. Peter, I see you want to say something.
Yes, I know. And yes, I would also underline the fact that anything that we say today may not be true tomorrow.
Exactly. Yeah.
So for example, yesterday, Mexico announced that it had undercounted the number of people with COVID. And it's now really, of the big nations in the world, it's number one with COVID infections. It's really number three, but the other two are incredibly small little countries.
San Marino, yes.
Yeah, San Marino in Mexico.
And Gibraltar.
Very different worlds. Well, one is an apartment house in Mexico City, basically. So and of course percentages, but that impacts tremendously how people travel. And so one of the things we're going to have to think about is people are going to be a lot more fearful of putting down deposits without knowing that they can get their money back if the situation changes. And we have to be very, very flexible.
Yeah, and it's up the whole thing, unfortunately, not only in this country here in the United States, but also in other countries. And I'm following the news in Germany as much as I follow the news in the US, becomes highly politicalized. I mean, when you're referring about the traffic to Mallorca from Germany, exactly, it has become a big political discussion in Germany, and it really shouldn't. There are two different issues. It's the same here in the US. And I think that this world needs to separate the issues a little bit and not politicalize this enormous crisis, specifically when it comes to the travel and tourism industry. But this is just my humble opinion. But I'm wondering, we're about in an hour into this discussion, what is usually the time we do for this event. This was highly interesting. And I'm wondering if there's any more last questions or comments from anyone. Feel free to raise your hand and we give you the microphone.
If not, this is a good time probably to end.
Yes, no, this is wonderful. And I wanted to give the last word, of course, to our guests, Manuela and Jost. And before we do this, just a reminder, we have a number of interesting discussions coming up. And I hope what we get out of this, first of all, maybe Professor Snow White, to see how we can help to implement these ideas we're being presented today within our own structure at World Tourism Network. And my message to Gloria, if she's watching, for WTTC in Mexico, to put these type of initiatives on the agenda one way or the other, and she may have already done that, because I think it's important for the industry to become mentors and help others that are also suffering or even more suffering to be able to survive and stay in good spirit going through this enormous crisis we're all still facing.
Yes.
Now, there are two events coming up, and I don't want you to miss it. You can find it at worldtourismevents.com. One tomorrow, on April 6th, I'm sorry, in a week, we're going to visit the Museum of the Palestinian People in Washington downtown. We're doing this with our interest group for tour operators. It's a new small museum, has a lot of histories, and I know we already have people joining us actually from the Palestinian area, from Jordan and so forth. And we're going to do a virtual tour of this museum together with our tour guide interest group. And then I'm very much looking forward on April 7th, we have a discussion on the future of tourism here in Hawaii. And of course, we're based here in Hawaii, so that becomes quite personal. We see how the development is in Hawaii tourism. We're all concerned if the boom of tourism we experience here right now, and domestic numbers in Hawaii are almost up like their normal times, but international tourists are missing. If this is all good, I mean, we're all bracing to get an increase in numbers. What didn't happen? So we're doing something right here in Hawaii. Our numbers are still relatively low. Our tourism has increased from 500 a day to 17,000 a day. And the hotels are doing better. The shopping center, I live right across from the Ala Moana shopping mall, the largest shopping mall in the Pacific, is busy. And the restaurants are busy. So what are we doing right? Or is this just a quiet session before the storm? So we're going to investigate this with a guest from the Hawaii Tourism Authority. That is the government agency in charge of tourism, and with members of the private industry. What's on April 7th? On April 9th, we're going to go to New York and Dr. Eleanor Garley, and we're having a glass of sherry. As you know, Eleanor is leading our our wines.travel blog for many years. She loves wines, and now we're going to go a little bit further. We go into sherry, and we're going to talk to an expert on sherry and wine in New York. So that's going to be interesting too. And it's at 6 p.m. In New York. The Hawaii event on April 7th will be the same time as this one, in the morning Hawaii time. And we're expecting you to be there. Hopefully you can sign up at worldtourismevents.com. And if you wanted to listen to the rest of this event, I know many of you are now live on eTurboNews and on our social media. You can do this. We're going to rerun this later on this afternoon Hawaii time, or in the evening, late evening European time, for the next 24 hours. So you can listen to it over and over again. And then, of course, it'll be an archive. And we have our archive at livestream.travel. And you can also read about it in this upcoming story on eTurboNews. But it has been a pleasure having you, Manuel, as a guest today, and Jost Neumann from Berlin, one of my most favorite cities in the world. I'm originally from Düsseldorf, but I always, have to humbly admit, I love Berlin. It's such a great city, and so many positive vibes in Germany, and almost getting homesick looking at you, knowing you guys are in Berlin. But anyways, Manuel, thank you so much for attending. I give you and Jost the last word.
Well, from my side, I'll go first and I'll let Joost finish. From my side, really thank you everyone for being present. And we always appreciate the opportunity of really highlighting the good work that we're doing. And it's not like we're selling something sexy, like an innovative experience or a product. We're selling really a relief fund, but these are the conversations that we need to have in the current circumstances and the current state of the industry in general. And so really thank you. And of course, if from your side, you can do your help in supporting us by spreading the word and gaining awareness about this kind of projects, that would really it would really mean a lot to us. So thank you so much, Jürgen and Peter as well for hosting us.
It's our pleasure.
Thank you very much. I don't know if Joost wanted to add anything. I don't want to ignore him since he's Manuel's boss. That's very important.
Just one sentence. I think tourism and travel has a great opportunity to be a motor and driver of development globally and really create jobs and support to the SDGs that Colin mentioned in the very beginning. And we advocate for public institutions, institutional donors and governments to allocate more money to tourism in order for us to be able to create this sustainable future that we all strive for. So this would be my last word. Thanks very much for listening in. And if you're interested, reach out to us anytime. We'd be happy to respond.
Thank you very much, Joost, Manuel. Schönen guten Abend nach Berlin and aloha from Hawaii. And hopefully we see you again soon. And please keep on reading eTurboNews. And if there's any comments, go to wtn.travel, click on comments, or you can go to eTurboNews.com and click on contact, and we'd be happy to respond to you. You have a good night, good morning, good evening, and I'll see you guys soon.